I'm Andrew Hall, and this is Dead Hand Radio. My guest for this episode is Jason Walker, paranormal investigator, security officer, and founder of Night Terror Collective, a paranormal investigative group founded in 2018. Jason and I met on Facebook through a mutual friend, Sandy Lene. Sandy is a psychic medium and host of the Psychic Communique, a paranormal talk radio show, and she recently interviewed Jason, so keep an eye out for that episode, which should drop soon. Jason also co-hosts his own streaming show called the Spectral Sailor. Sorry about that, Jason.
Mhm.
Which airs on the Paranormal United Network with fellow investigator Rosie Page. And he was recently nominated for Best Male Investigator, which is quite an honor. Congrats on the nomination, and welcome to Dead Hand Radio, Jason.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
I appreciate you doing this, and big shout out and thank you to Sandy Lene for putting us together. She's quite an interesting person in her own right, and she was on this podcast oh oh about October of last year, and it's a real pleasure that she's introduced us and gives me a chance to talk to you because the paranormal world is something that's certainly of interest to me. But let's talk a little bit about you and how you got into paranormal investigating. So, when did it start, and what was the catalyst for you to get involved in it?
Yeah, with just about anything that anybody really has a passion for, it kind of starts when you're young. Um, I had a couple of experiences when I was a kid. Um, seeing UFOs. I saw two. Um, uh, it's funny because a lot of people describe them in different ways and how big they are, but the ones I saw were actually not as they were just as big as a basketball. They're pretty small. Um, and they were actually looked like they were like playing tag with each other, and then playing around, and then they zipped up in the sky. And I'm like, ever since then, I was fascinated with UFOs. So that kind of started that. And then as far as like the actual spirits or the ghost aspect of it is, you know, I um I saw something I couldn't explain when I was a kid that always got me just right there in my mind, like all the time, wondering what it was that I saw. It was so dark where I was at the time, and it was like blacker than black, and I could see it moving, and when it got close to me, it was all kind of distorted and everything. You couldn't really make out exactly what it was, but ever since then, I was intrigued by it. I wasn't, it didn't. I'd be lying if it said it didn't scare me, but it also like it just made me more curious about it than anything. Um, a lot of things like that would happen to somebody who would scare them away from that subject. But me, I just wanted to learn all about it. And where I'm from in eastern Oklahoma is just kind of real deep in all kinds of Indian folklore and that kind of thing, and that leads into more of the Bigfoot experiences around here. Bigfoot's pretty big in Oklahoma and Texas and Arkansas. So we're just kind of in a rich spot for that all things paranormal, really. And what happened was back in 2018, uh, my mom passed away, and then she would always really kind of encourage me to pursue this, and I always was interested, but I was kind of left it on the back burner and never really pursued it as much. But when she passed away, I was like, that really kind of pushed me more into it because it just really got me going. Like, you only live once, and that's you experience that kind of thing, and it's like I want to do it. I want to do it. So after that, it was all about forming the team. I mean, I was forming Not Terror Collective, and coming up with the logo, the name, and gathering the right team members. And I feel like over time we really did. We have four of the best, I think, paranormal investigators in the field, and we just man, we go about it, and every day we're representing Not Terror Collective. So It started with one person. It's grown so much, and we got a really big following as far as Facebook and Instagram, Twitter and all that stuff. So, and as you mentioned too, on the show called The Spectral Sailor on the Paranormal Night Network that airs every Monday, 8 p.m. Central Time, and we just have guests on and we talk about all kinds of things paranormal. And if it's somebody that's more well known and stuff, we talk about their projects and all that kind of stuff. So we have a pretty big following on that too. So it all comes together, and it's getting bigger. And like you mentioned too, I was nominated for Male Investigator of the Year for the Paranormal Awards. There's only 5 of us nominated in that category, and unfortunately, I didn't win it, but it was really cool being nominated. Out of everybody in the field.
Excellent. Yeah. So I don't want to rehash a lot of information that you might have shared on other podcasts or on your own show, but I would like to point people in the direction to find out more about you. So, is there anywhere that you've shared in detail some of your experiences, or would you like to talk about that right now?
Yeah,
Li-
anything that we've done as a team is on Not Terror Collective, the Facebook group page, and we also have a business page. You can check that stuff out, Twitter and Instagram, like I mentioned. Um, there are certain things that I'm working on, other projects that I'm working on. I'm in the middle of writing a book. I have a book deal with BMK Publishing, and it's about uh, a deal. It's around the Salsa, Oklahoma area, called the Gates of Hell, and that's a very interesting place. And it's a bunch of folklore and stuff around that area for devil worshiping, and a couple of instances that I came across going there in that location. And actually, we'll take a look at one of the apparitions we caught out there, like I sent you earlier. That was caught out there at the Gates of Hell, and it's a really crazy area. Um, also, while in the middle of doing that, I also wrote a children's book. It's called The Little Ghostly Ghost. It'd be on Amazon and stuff too. But I wanted to do that because all the things that we do and deal with, as far as you know, um, paranormal investigations, it can be kind of scary and intense sometimes. And I kind of want to introduce kids to that, but in a nicer way, and do something more for them that can't get into what we do because of the risk factors and things. So um, it was cool writing a little book, for the kids, and I hope they enjoy it when it comes out.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to dip your toe in. And real quick, I just want to give a shout out to Luis and Rodrigo. They joined us in our chat room, and both of them welcomed us. And there are a couple guys that are really involved in the UFO world.
Mm,
And Luis has, excuse me, started up I call it a movement where it's called the Big Phone Home, where he is trying to encourage people to get out and contact their Congress members, representatives, and ask them for more transparency on the UFO topic from the government.
yeah, that's very interesting because in that field there's a lot of stuff happening right now.
That
You know, there's
definitely.
more, there's more and more stuff by the government that's been released a little at a time. And I really think that's just to soften the blow for when it does hit and when disclosure does happen. Um, I think it's closer than it's probably ever been. And it's funny. There's a lot of stuff like the Navy pilot videos and everything that's come out, but there's a lot more evidence out there for UFOs, and it's not just because I think it's not. It's just like it's actually just like ghosts or anything like that too. I don't necessarily think those things are happening more and more often. I think it's more like everybody's got a phone that has a camera on it, and those things have always been happening. It's just more and more people are capturing it now, and I don't think the activity is necessarily amped up as far as those things go, but I think it's just there's just more capture, and they've always been happening.
I agree. And one of the things that I see is that I think there is an increase in public awareness and public acceptance of the topic being real and not fabricated or hallucinations or I mean, this is what I used to think it was. I used to be really skeptical, and to the point where I would actually dismiss what people were talking about and think that they were either crazy or lying or hallucinating, right? Um, and and then I read a book. The book was called Hunt for the Skinwalker by
Mm.
George Knapp and Colm Kelleher.
Mm.
It was about Skinwalker Ranch.
Right.
That book literally changed my whole perspective on the issue of ghosts, UFOs, cryptids. I mean, the entire paranormal world was opened up to me at that time, and that was not that long ago. It was, I think, the book came out in the early 2000s. I probably read it in 2000. Um, I don't know, maybe 2015, maybe earlier than that, but I think it was 2015 when I read it.
Mm.
So I've been a pretty, staunch skeptic up until that point. Um, and even after that, I didn't really talk to people about it, and I kind of kept it to myself. And I wasn't really um, a what do you call it, where you jump all in and you
Mm.
go investigating it and stuff like that. I didn't do any of that. I just was accepting of it and interested in it um, until last year, 2020, when I had, you know, when the COVID hit. I started up the podcast and I really started talking to people about it, and talking to people really kind of broadened my perspective. Um, which is why originally the podcast started out. I don't know if you knew this or not, but it was about the Cold War. That's what I focused on. And through my research and talking with people about the Cold War, the topic of UFOs kept coming up. How weird is that? You're talking about history, you're talking about nuclear war, you're
Mm.
talking about the conflict between the Soviets and the US, and UFOs keep popping up. So I had to start looking into it even more, man. And now that's probably the primary topic that I talk about with my guests when they come on the program is about the UFO and what's going on with it. And like you said, it's really interesting times right now for the UFO world. Um, I think we are close to disclosure, but I don't know that we'll ever get 100% transparency. As long as we get a little bit, uh, in small increments, as long as we get more and more over time, I think people will be satisfied. But like Jeremy McGowan said last week, what the UFO community has to start doing is stop getting over sensationalized, or stop over sensationalizing these little tidbits that are coming out, because those things are great, and yeah, that's all good, but what we need to do is desensitize ourselves to that and expect more from the government. So
Yeah. You
yeah,
know,
good. Go ahead.
well, there's a lot of people that aren't going to believe it, no matter what you put out there. They're going to say, "I'm not going to believe anything until one lands on the lawn of the White House." You know, but here's the thing: they probably don't know or don't understand. Is like that's already happened.
Yeah.
Like none of they may not physically see it, but it's crazy. It's not. It's just too crazy to think that our head of governments and everything has not met with them, and they don't have some sort of agreements or treaties and stuff. I mean, it's just crazy to think that they wouldn't. I'm sure they do, and I'm sure there are multiple races that are involved in it. But to me, is if you can't really classify yourself as a paranormal investigator or enthusiast or anything like that, if if you believe in ghosts but you don't believe in UFOs can exist or aliens or Bigfoot, because to me it's all the way I classify it's all under the same umbrella. It really is. It's all you can they can have different categories, but they're all in the paranormal world. They're all the paranormal umbrella. They're all kind of the same, but at the same time different. And um, you know, um, I believe that our government, like I said, are they have they have communications with them, all the time.
Uh, I agree with you that the world of the strange, everything you can lump into the paranormal, is all connected somehow, interconnected. Um, I don't know if it's all one and the same. I think it is different things, but it's all connected somehow. And it's just interesting, and why people don't accept the idea that our world is far stranger than what we realize. I mean, that just makes our existence on this planet that much more interesting, right? In my mind. Um, and then Rodrigo made a comment that Richard Dolan, he's one of the probably one of the most respected UFO researchers in the world. He started out um, looking into the Cold War and historical connections. And yeah, that is absolutely true, Rodrigo. Thanks for mentioning that. Richard Dolan is somebody that I admire and look up to as a researcher. I am nowhere near considered, in my mind, a researcher, um, because I don't study the topic. I just talk to people. I do research about the person that I'm going to talk to, but I don't go do this historical study and read all the literature out there about the topic. Um, I have done some research on it, but I don't put myself in the ranks of the researchers or the investigators. I put myself in the ranks of the curious, you know, the kind of people that accept the idea of this stuff being real, and I just want to learn more about it. You know, well, so I would love to talk more about UFOs, but let's put that for a little bit later on and go back and talk about your investigations within the paranormal uh, activity. And because you said that you started out because of some experiences that you had had, and then once your mom passed away, you decided to go ahead and actually launch the company, or the associate. Is it a company? Would it be considered a company,
Yeah, we are considered like a nonprofit business, um,
like a
and
501c3?
yeah, it's like we don't ever charge for anything we do, but at the same time we're open for donations or anything like that. But
Okay, got it.
mm,
Now, was there? So did the um, man? I want to. Did you have any kind of, like? Was there something that caused you to start investigating? Were you interested in trying to contact the spirits, or was that did that have anything to do with it?
yeah, it was all part of that. Is I really wanted to get on board with other people and other groups that I saw doing the same thing for the reason uh, to discover or so we can open up anything to prove that there was something after we die. That was more of the calling, really. It's great if we get evidence of pictures of apparitions or EVPs or orbs or anything like that. But it's like you want that great evidence like that to prove that there's something more. Like to me, I don't think our energy dies. It can't die. It goes to a different plane of existence where that's I don't know where that's at or what it is, but that's kind of the whole point of what we're doing. Um, and then it's not to get a great picture to be famous or anything like that. And those things help. Those things do help fuel like what we do. More people are interested when they see those things. Like, who is not Terra Collective and what are they all about? It's just like watching. Ghost Adventures and Zach Bagans and all those guys. It's like, who are these guys and what they're all about when they post they have evidence of something. Um, and that goes to more of the TV aspect of things. Is just it's kind of we stay away from it a little bit because of just kind of the stigma of things being exaggerated, and we don't fake anything we do. And that's the great thing about how we do our investigations, is that everything we do is posted live as we're doing them on our page. They're unedited. We never edit anything. We never make a video and then post it or anything like that. It's what we're seeing is what you're seeing at the same time. And I think that gains us a lot, gains us a following and more respect, I think, in what we do.
Uh, yeah. Well, so let's talk about your method of investigation. Um, First of all, what types of investigations do you guys do?
Yeah, we've tackled some historical places, and those are always really cool, just because of all the information and the history of it. It's cool to be in those places. Um, we actually have a really big one coming up next week at Waverly Hills. Everybody knows where that's at and what that place is. But you know, we've captured some of our greatest evidence in residential investigations, and that's usually done by people who contact us that are asking for our help, or at least to see if we can't, explain things to them, or sometimes it's even just to debunk things that they think is causing hauntings when it's not. And then we do those kind of things. But we have a researcher, and it's she is actually our medium. She's on our team named Rhonda Austin, or goes by Rosie Page. And she handles most of our research and our locations. But um, she also does cleansings and things for us. But yeah, it's a mixture of residential locations and historical places, and there's really kind of no place we'll turn down, and especially if children are involved, we really try to get in gear and get it there as quickly as we can, and really try to help and figure it out.
So do you guys do like we talked a little bit before we started recording, and you mentioned that there are different types of entities. We talked a little bit about some of the different types of entities, but what are the types of entities that you guys typically encounter or will investigate?
Yeah, we do run into the residual things where it just plays over and over and over, and it's, if like I mentioned, children, so a lot of times they see it, and they're scared, understandably. But when we can prove that that's really kind of what's going on there, and explain that it's harmless, it's not going to hurt you, um, and really kind of iterate that to them to just to make them feel at ease. But we run into that, and we have run into more of intelligent spirits that that communicate with you. And it's cool when you do, because it's nice to get that communication from the other side. And it's if you can capture it on sort of evidence, whether it be your REM pods or your SLS cameras or even EVPs or whatever it is. But when you ask a question, you're getting an intelligent response to that question. That's just really cool to me, and it's just always fascinates me. And it doesn't, I don't get scared in those things. But I've really, well, I can't say I've ever been in a really location where I've actually gotten scared saying we need to get out or anything like that. But I've been in places where I felt really uneasy, and you can feel the energy change. Um, and just be cautious. But I investigated a place called the Broken Bow Asylum, Broken Bow, Oklahoma, and that was kind of recent. But uh, the first time I ever had anything thrown at me was there. It hit me in the left shoulder. It was a big piece of glass, and um, most people, when that would happen, they'd run out screaming or something. No, I mean, I'm sitting there wanting it to happen again, or, we left that area and I come back to it. I'm not afraid. Those things excite me. if I'm not getting, scratched up or anything like that, where I feel like, hey man, this is something that we don't need to be dealing with, then I wanted to experience those things.
One of the things that you prompted me with by one of your comments was that you wanted it to happen again, and that is that the problem with UFOs, paranormal, and even cryptids is that it's almost impossible, or it's a very rare occasion where there is a repeatable event where
Yeah.
something happens exactly the same as it happened before, and that's why science has such a problem with these areas of study. Um, there are some scientists. There's a really good group of all. They're all scientists and serious investigators looking into the topic of UAP. They call it UAP, the unidentified aerial phenomena, which is the new term that the government is using, and a lot of the top investigators are starting to use that term. Sorry to jump over to UFOs,
Mhm.
but like you said, man, they're connected, right? But the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies is the SCU, and that's the organization that I'm referring to. They have scientists from all fields of study, all disciplines of science. And one of the scientists who is a member, she is also a paranormal investigator and a UFO researcher. Her name is Linda Zimmerman, and um, she basically has captured EVP that has convinced her that there's something 100% real about the phenomena, about the multitude of phenomena that's around. I just think it's interesting that not only is the general public becoming more acceptable to this, or accepting these topics, but even the scientific community is starting to move in that direction, even if it's a little bit at a time. um, it's We're getting there. um, Now again, you said that you try to capture repeatable evidence. Is there anything that you've ever you know what, let's put that on pause, because I want to talk about the evidence. I want to get into that in some detail, but we'll talk about that later on, okay? um, but okay, so can you give me an idea of how a typical investigation goes? Like, how does it start? How are you guys contacted? And then what happens after that?
Yeah, usually, and now it's they send a message to us on our Facebook, whether it be through our business page or our group page. We get them both, and then it happens that way, or um, just kind of a word of mouth type deal, or and I also have have business cards that have our number on it and everything. So we get calls and texts, but what happens is usually just being honest about it is I'm pretty busy. My schedule is pretty tight sometimes, and what I'll do is I'll have it uh, go through our researcher, like I was telling you, Rhonda earlier, and she'll kind of conduct like a pre interview type deal with them, to whoever it is, and kind of determine if it needs to be, if it's serious enough to be passed up to me to kind of look over things, and then we'll determine as a group whether or not we're going to go and how we're going to tackle it depending on the situation. Because every situation is different. Every ghost is different. Every not ghost is different. But it just depends because you don't want to you don't want write off people and think they're crazy and just making stuff up, or and sometimes that could be the case, but
But
that,
before you go into how the investigation evolves after that, can you talk a little bit about how what 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 are some of the messages that you get from people who want you to come investigate their property?
yeah, it ranges from hearing noises or doors shut, lights going off and on. It's almost when you collective do it as a collective, and it sounds like poltergeist activity sometimes. And the thing about that is people's got the wrong message about poltergeist, because of the movies and stuff. But all that means is noisy ghost. That's really what it means. And if we say that word, it's not nothing scary. It's a people hear that and think it's automatically something scary because you think of the movies and things. But
But
um,
that could also range from like a squeaky door all
yeah,
the way up to cabinet doors opening and closing, and like you said, something flying across the room at you.
exactly. And
Yeah.
we've had it range from all that, or to people seeing shadow figures to seeing full body apparitions. Um, and we people say they've heard voices and people say their names and things like that. But it ranges from all of those things. Um, we had one where it was nobody experiencing anything but the kids. Like the kids would not stay in the room because they kept saying something was in them. So we've investigated that same place multiple times because whatever is there just won't go away, and we can't seem to get it to go away. We've cleansed it I don't know how many times now, but like we'll keep going back because if it makes them feel at ease that we're there or if we're trying to help them, then that's what we'll do. But
That's cool.
eventually, I think we might be able to. We haven't been able to prove whether it's residual or if it's a intelligent haunt yet, and it's just they haven't given us that much evidence to determine it yet.
Wow.
But we do know something's there. We just don't know what. But
Oh, what's the typical mindset when somebody contacts you, when they reach out to you? Are they distressed or are they just curious? What's the typical mindset of people?
Yeah, we've had it where it's just like you said, it's curiosity. Hey, man, I keep hearing this. I don't know what's going on. To hey, there is something in my house, and we want you to come look at it. So and that's what we'll do. And then we'll like I said, we'll do like a little like pre-interview thing with them and kind of determine what's going on and what's the steps. And sometimes um, if we're not actually able to make it and it just sounds like it's something that needs to be cleansed, like we can walk them through those steps, and we've done that before. So
Oh, that's cool. Do you ever, or I'm sure it's not often, but do you ever decline a case because of lack of evidence or sincerity from the reporter's part?
no, we've never declined it. We've gone to places over multiple times because somebody keeps swearing there's something in their house, but we had actually no evidence of whatsoever. How many times we go there, we're not getting anything, like no matter what we do. And eventually it's kind of one of those things like, man, you might have to contact another team or somebody else, but or maybe even just kind of visit with your priest or whatever religion you want to dive into. But sometimes it's just I don't know, people thinking things just because of movies and things like that. But no, we don't ever decline anybody help. You know, we'll still try to get them the right help, whatever that is.
Uh, I mean, that's the right attitude to go into it, and that's people should not hesitate to reach out to somebody like you. But I mean, are there cases where you've actually had to go out and it turns out to be a hoax?
Well, we've had one that we think was. Um, we didn't gather any evidence really, but there was evidence being shown to us like multiple different times, and it's just the way the investigation's gone and kind of the information just didn't add up to what they're saying. So we're not going to come out and straight say that, but that's that's uh, that's kind of what it was. And then you know it's a waste of time, but it's not at the same time because we still get the chance to do our thing and what we like to do and what we love to do. So anytime we get a chance to do it, it's great. But sometimes it's just kind of like, yeah, this is kind of like a one-time deal, you know.
That's a great attitude, and I mean, it's like the idea of going into. I mean, it's just practice, right?
Right.
There's never a failure unless you quit trying. So
Exactly.
if you go in there and you set up your equipment, you do your investigation, and I mean, a legitimate investigator is going to go in with the idea that you're trying to prove that it's something mundane, something
Right.
boring, right? You're not going to go in there and try to prove that it's a ghost. You're going to try to find out what it is not before you
Right.
try to
Exactly.
prove what it is, right?
That's exactly what it is. You know,
That's the scientific method.
right. We can only go by what our evidence gives us. Um, whether it be pictures, sounds, whatever. But it's that kind of goes back to our investigations that we do on our page. Like anytime we do them, like I said, they're live. So, for the most part, it's just people that don't do what we do don't really understand sometimes because they're getting all these images and video from TV and movies and things. But being honest about it, it's most of the time it's boring. It's just plain boring. Like we don't get anything. We're not dealing with demons and entities and all that stuff. Like all the time, every time we do something. And sometimes we might come across a spirit that's a that's a prick, because that's just the way they are. That's the way they were in life. Uh, if they're, it's kind of like they're pricking life, they're pricking death. They're not gonna change, But at the same time, anytime we go into investigation, it's like we all understand that what we're dealing with, these people were people. They were alive, so you treat them with respect, no matter what. Like you just go in and talk to them, and have a conversation with them, and that you'll get more out of it that way. We don't believe in provoking or anything like that, so we don't do it. We just go in there and sit down and have a conversation. It turns out good, but like I said, when we're live, man, that's you're getting the same thing we're getting. So if it's boring for 5 hours, it's just what it is.
So take us through a typical investigation. What do you guys do? Okay, once you decided you're going to take a case and you're on site, what happens next? And take us through the investigation.
Yeah, well, we'll go when they say they're getting the most activity. We'll kind of divide that up between us. Um, we'll look around for physical evidence, whether it be like creaks or doors, like I said, water dripping or anything like that. We kind of rule all of that out first before we even break out any equipment. So yeah, we do that, and then we have a sit down interview with them, kind of like what's been going on, and then hopefully we can get the space to ourselves, and then they trust us enough wherever that's at. If it's a historical place or residential, but yeah, we do our best to, like you said earlier, kind of start proving that what we can is not there, rather than what is, and then at that point, that's when we break all of our fancy stuff. Uh, we have all the equipment you see them guys using on TV. We have thousands of dollars worth of equipment, so we'll bust that out. Sometimes though, I tell you, and I've said this lots of different times, is that the best tools you can ever have is really kind of your phone and the flashlight. Really, honestly, it's cool to have like all that stuff and SLS and all that fancy stuff, but I've done plenty of things with just my phone and flashlight and capture some great evidence.
So the phone, would you use that for capturing EVPs
Yeah,
and
you
video?
can. Right, because your mic is so sensitive on your phone, and especially these newer phones, and with the way your video is and everything, it's just as good almost as using anything else. I've captured some great Class A EVPs just using my phone. Um, and you're not gonna get an apparition or an orb every time you take a picture, but sometimes things pop in there.
And just a note about thousands of dollars of equipment that you guys have. I'm sure you have some multimillionaire benefactor who just throws money at you guys to go out and do what you do. He pays you salaries and
Mhm.
right. I mean, is that how it works?
I wish it did, but I
That
wish
was
it
a
did.
joke.
Yeah, that that's the benefit. Those guys that have all the TV deals and everything, they're not paying for that stuff, But everything comes out of our pockets. Travel expenses, everything we pay for. Like I said, we don't charge anybody for anything we do. And as of right now, we don't have any sponsors or anything, but who knows, that might change.
Well, that's that. It was a joke. I mean, I was teasing you a
Yeah,
little bit, but it's the same with the UFO field. The people that are studying the UFO phenomena are doing it on their own time. They're
yeah,
doing it with their own the money that they invest in the whatever equipment. Camera equipment's not cheap.
right.
The Sky Hub unit, you can build it for a few $100, but nobody's going to give you a few $100, um, to go buy the equipment you need and then spend the time to build the Sky Hub. Uh, this stuff, it's a labor of love by the people that are out there doing it, and there's very little monetary reward for the majority of the people that are doing it.
Right.
Um, and I wanted to illustrate that. And I'm sorry for making a joke at your expense, but
No, it's fine.
but
I totally understand it.
I
Yeah,
think a
I
lot
mean,
of people I think a lot of people believe that ghost hunters and UFO investigators, because you guys are writing books, you guys are on TV all the time. And I mean you guys, I mean in general, the general
right.
population of the UFO and the paranormal community. People have this misconstrued belief that everybody's making a bunch of money at it, and that's just simply not the case.
No, not at all. Everybody, I say everybody wants that. A lot of people say that, that do this, don't, but it would be easier if we had those big contracts or sponsors or something like that. But, like I said, everything comes out of our pocket. And then, like you said that a lot of people don't realize, it takes a lot of money, it takes a lot of time. You really got to be passionate and love it, and you also got to be about helping people and building relationships. And it's all about relationships and partnerships with whoever. And you meet all these people in the same field, whether they're famous or not. I have quite a few famous friends, but that do this kind of stuff. But it's all kind of the luck of the draw, whether or not you're going to get picked up by TV or they even notice you. But you know, I would say, it's not about the fame. It's about proving this stuff exists. After we're dead, or UFOs and all that stuff. But we're famous, I guess, in a local sense, but not nationally or anything like that. But yeah,
And that in itself is another misconception that people have. Fame does not equal riches and wealth.
right,
You could be internet famous, but you still have to have a job to make a living. I mean, it's just there's really very little correlation between being well known and actually having a good solid income from what you're doing.
right.
It
That's
does
right.
help, and eventually when you write a book, you get a book deal, and hopefully you do some speaking engagements and you make some money off of that. But that has nothing to do with your investigations.
No, it
Um,
doesn't.
and real quick, going back to your investigative process. So, in my mind, it seems like the one of the most important roles that you have, in addition to, you know, trying to suss out what exactly it is that's going on at these locations, is to educate the homeowners or the people that are living and occupying that space, educating them in a way of letting them know that this is what's going on, and at the same time it's not something to be afraid of, and here's why. Is that
Right.
pretty accurate?
Yeah, that's really kind of what it comes down to. And then sometimes, that there are things that you come across that we'll kind of have to sit down what you just said and tell them what it is, but then it's not fine. It's like this needs to be gone. We can do these steps to help you, and if it progresses and it goes above that, that's above our pay grade. I say, and that's somebody else that needs to be called in that deals with those specific things. um, you don't want to ever act like you know what you're doing when you don't. That can make
Good
things a
point.
lot worse.
Very good point. And does that mean that you have like a network of people that do provide uh, those other types of services, where you could basically point the people in the direction, contact this person to deal with this type of situation or whatever?
Yeah, we actually have a priest that we can point them to,
Okay.
that that's what they do, part of their job, really. So a lot of people might not feel comfortable with that, and you want to point to maybe they have different religious beliefs, and that's totally fine too. But if that's the case, then they need to talk to those people, and then there's usually always somebody in that type of organization that can help you.
Um, oh man, I had a question on the top of my head, and then I looked at the chat and I got distracted. Sorry about that. It was is in regards to uh, the after the investigation, when you're talking, or when you're referring, um, do you call them clients, the people that you're working with,
Yeah,
helping them with, you call them clients?
yeah.
So even though they're not paying you, they're still considered a client. You're doing a service for them. um, so you refer them out to somebody else to get help. Do you ever do a follow-up to find out what the end result is?
Yes, actually, we usually do message them, um, to see how things are going, or if they need us to, if they want us to come back, or you know, and kind of like you know to rate ourselves too, to be like, how did we do what we said we do, or did we help at all? Did we put your mind at ease? We do those things on every one of them, and everything's been positive so far.
Well, that's good. So let's talk a little bit about team building, because you started out on your own, more or less. I mean, just from my assumption is that you decided you wanted to start a team. How did you go about building a team, and how did those early days of putting that team together kind of pan out?
Yeah, it all started with you go back to, you want the right name. You want the right name to it's going to represent you from then till whenever. Um, so that was actually kind of tough, to come up, because there's always paranormal this, paranormal that, whatever. It's like, man, I don't want to be like everybody else. So, um, it really took me a while, but not Terry Collective. I thought, finally, I said, that covers everything to me. It's a collective of everything. It's not just paranormal or ghost hunting or ghost this or whatever. So I was like, man, that will cover our cryptids or UFOs, our ghosts, and just everything under the sun, which was great. But then it was design time, and that was really tough because I'm very picky. So I had to work with an artist to come up with the logo. And she was pretty mad at me for a while because I'm so stubborn. But I was like, it's got to be right because it's going to represent me. So it just, we're going to work on it until it gets right, and we did. And for a while, this logo was actually red, and I was like, and then she switched it to green one day. I was like, that's it. It's like, that's our stuff right there. So after that got finalized, I put out like I guess you would say, like a casting call in a way, and had some people show up. And when it's all said and done, we had the right four members that just clicked with each other, and we're all in the right mindset, the right. We believe in the same things and want to help people, and then get gather as much evidence as we can as far as proving everything that we want to set out to do.
As you were
So
going through, sorry, we've
no, yeah. So what it was is as I mentioned Rhonda a few times already, but I've actually known her for a long time, and it just clicked because she's always been a sensitive, a medium. You know, she's always had that ability, and now since she's been part of the team, she's really had time to really develop that and work on it, which is great for us. You know, because we're in a location sometimes and she's getting different kind of feelings. It really kind of sets the tone for the night, really what's going to be, and it does usually pan out to be what she's saying, whether it's going to be that she's picking up positive energy or something else, um, so that was great. And then our next guy is our camera operator investigator, and his name's Sean Minnie. And he really brought kind of like more of a spiritual thing to the team. You know, he's more religious, really, than than the rest. Not to say that I'm not, but he was really into that and really kind of wanted to explore that aspect of it and how it relates to everything. And so that worked, And then we have a guy. His name is Rick Chase, and he's our tech guy. He manages all of our equipment and everything. And he's a little bit older than the rest of us, but he has a lot of experience. He's been all kinds of famous places all over the country. So it really kind of brought that aspect to it, and as far as guidance and everything, So that worked out, and then like I said, the four of us, it just works, man. It's just a great team.
nice. So what I was going to ask you was during the selection process, did you already have in mind which roles um, you wanted for each team member and how many team members you wanted to have, or did that kind of
Um,
evolve like on its own?
yes and no, really, because as far as the members go, I didn't want like a big team. I've seen teams that have like 7, 8 people. I was like, no, I really want to cut that down, because it makes more to me 4 to 5 people, and five's pushing it really, but four of us um, could have more individual experiences that were more intense, I believe, when we go do things. And then as far as like the actual members themselves, I had no idea what the roles are going to be. It just worked out that way, and it was the best thing, And we just kind of just divided it up between us of what we were going to do. And I am the founder and I'm the lead investigator, but that doesn't mean it's my way or highway. It's really great because we have meetings with each other, or whatever it is. We talk and collaborate on what we're going to do, and decide as a group the best action to take. It's not because I say this is what we're going to do, or it doesn't work that way. If it did, I wouldn't have a team.
Yeah, yeah, it's not a team if one guy's making all the decisions. Um, so let's uh, let's real quick um, tell a little ghost story if that's cool, and then we'll get into showing some evidence that you've captured. But what I would like you to do is take us through the scariest investigation or location that you've ever investigated. I know you said that you don't get scared, but maybe your team members have had some really freaky experiences or something. Just kind of creep us out a little bit.
But I'd say the most really kind of intense place would be one I mentioned earlier, was the Gates of Hell. That I wrote in the book about. It's near South Oklahoma, and it's got a lot of stuff with it. It's like there's a witch aspect to it. There's devil worshiping and demons, and it's it just kind of starts out in like the 70s and 80s, when that was real heavy in that area, was the devil worshiping. And then, I mean, it was like
This
real
satanic
intense.
panic.
Yeah, it was kind of one of those things like you don't really believe it unless you see it, kind of thing. You hear about it all the time, but and there was also when you're younger and a teenager and stuff, uh, you dare you and your friends or whatever to go out there at nighttime. Nobody wants to go out to that place, or be around it. And it kind of it starts out there. Is when I was a kid, I was about 19 years old, and it was one of those situations. My mom was younger then, and she had a friend, and it was my brother and me, and we took off out there. Like she wanted to go out there with a friend. It was daylight, so like it's no big deal. We'll just go check out this place. So we get out there, and it was getting towards the evening time, and then it wasn't dark or anything, but you can tell the sun's getting ready to set. And then what it is a graveyard, and it's right on the river. And there used to be these big wrought iron gates there. And there's a big burnt hole in the middle of the cemetery where they'd come and do all their stuff. But as we were getting there, we turned around, just kind of parked, and we look over to the right side, and there's just big open field, and then a tree line goes straight in the woods. So coming out of this tree line across the field is about 8 individuals in black robes with torches going towards the graveyard. And they wasn't running or anything like that. They were just walking across there, head towards that graveyard. So my mom's friend was driving. They take off like bat out of hell, screaming, yelling. We get at the end of the road. Nobody's following us or anything, but it scared the crap out of them. But it always fascinated me. I was scared because I didn't know what was going on, and they were yelling and screaming. I didn't really, at that age, understand what they were scared about. So I was like, man, I always thought about like what's going on out there. Why is it so scary? So when I'm a teenager, I'm doing that stuff. I said earlier is we're going out there daring everybody because everybody knows the local legend. So we go out there one night, and I guess about 2003 or somewhere around there. It was me and two of the friends, and we get to the graveyard, and we decide, well, we're going to walk across this field to the tree line. Well, in the tree line out in the woods somewhere, part of the legend is that there's a satanic church out there. And for some reason, you could only see this church at certain times. And that was part of the legend. So let's go find this church. Let's be brave. So we go across this field, and there's big like ravines across it, and you can't really go quickly, and or you fall down one of them. But so we make it across the field, we get to the tree line, and then we're just kind of like, okay, well, we made it, let's go back. And they're like, no, let's keep going. So we go deeper in the woods, and we all just have little flashlights. That's all we got. So we kept hearing some of them wrestling around in the woods, and we kept getting closer and closer and closer. Well, as that's happened, we're getting more freaked out because we can't see it. We don't know what it is. So we're kind of panicking, looking around, trying to find out what's making the noise, coming up closer and closer. Finally, it gets real close to us, and we're kind of freaked out real good at that point. And then finally shine our lights on. It's a possum. It wasn't nothing demonic or anything. It was a possum. So we're like, man, okay, crap. Well, you know what? Let's just keep going. We're already here. So let's go find this church. So we've already been scared, right? So so we keep going, and we get to this fence, and it's like a barbed wire fence, and we're not all the way up to it, but as our flashlights are shining that way, it hits a pair of eyes, and they were yellow eyes. Well, these eyes were like 2 feet apart, so they're pretty wide from each other. And we're like, man, I can't figure out what in the hell that is, but they were about 2 feet off the ground. So we were thinking it's like another, like, I don't know, raccoon or something, right? But then you're thinking like the eyes are so far apart, don't know what it is. Well, then we started shining our flashlights more, and there was two more sets of eyes. So there's three of them, and these things were blacker than black. You couldn't see a body. You just see the eyes reflected. Well, we kind of backed up a little bit. Well, these things rose up, and when they rose up, they're like 9 feet tall in the air, like all three of them. They weren't making a noise. You can just see their eyes rise up as we're shining our flashlights on them, and then we have no idea what we're looking at because you can't see a body. You just see eyes, which was freaky to me because I don't understand why we can't see a body. So at that time, we're just kind of like freaked out a
Can,
little bit.
can I ask you a question right there?
Yeah.
So when you first saw them, they were 2 feet off the ground. The
Yeah.
eyes were 2 feet off the ground, and then they rose up. In your perception, did they come up out of the ground or did they stand up from like a laying position?
It almost looked like, yeah, it kind of almost looked like they were like laying down, I guess, because
Wow.
um, that's just that's the way they look when they rose, and then they just went, they rose up, and you're looking at these three sets of eyes are like way tall.
Okay.
So you're like, wait a minute, you were just 2 feet tall, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So yeah, so we kind of start backing up real slow, and we're like, okay, we're getting out of here. So well, at that time, the two that were on the ends took off. You can hear them running through the woods. The one
Uh,
in the middle still stayed there, and you can see, or you can hear that they were like surrounding us. So we're like, shit, well, we can't run across the field, fall in that ravine. So um, my two buddies left, and I was kind of sitting there by myself, like walking backwards to this field to make sure nothing was following us. And I never saw which way the one in the middle went. So I was always curious where he went to, because I could still hear the one on the right, and then on the left side, I can tell that he kind of ran across the field. And then when we come across the field, you got to go back around the graveyard to get to your vehicle. So we're coming across this fence, going around the graveyard, and then when I got there, I looked up in the graveyard was one of those things, whatever it was, and you still couldn't see the body, but only the eyes, which was still freaky to me because I couldn't figure out why I'm not seeing the body. So, but we get to the cars and take off real fast, not saying a thing, like nobody said a word. So I didn't talk to them for like 2 days. Like nobody said nothing to anybody. But when we did talk, we were just like, "What the hell was that?" Like we can't explain it. And then uh, there's two theories. One, somebody brought up that maybe what we saw were Sasquatch, maybe because they were so tall. I don't know. Um, but what I started thinking about was maybe they were demons and they were protecting that church that we got too close to.
wow.
Um, you know,
Either one could
yeah,
be a pretty scary, profound uh, interaction. And luckily, you
right.
guys walked away from it.
But what was crazy about that was that there was no sounds. Like they didn't make sounds. So there was no growling. There was no hollering. There was nothing. Like uh, maybe they just thought that the presence was enough, and it was. But it was crazy to think about that. Like we didn't hear them make any sounds, and I mean we
That is
didn't stick
wild.
around. But that's the craziest thing I've had, and that's not even being an investigator. But since then, my team and I have gone back out to that location, and that's actually a picture of one of the apparitions was in that place that we caught where we're doing it.
Awesome. Well, we're going to get right into that next. Um, did you ever find this this supposed satanic church?
No, and I've been out there lots of times since then. I've been out there in the daytime. I've never found it, and the people swear that it's there. It's always been part of growing up hearing about it being there. And then I think about like when I was a kid, seeing those guys in the robes and stuff coming out of that tree line. Well, they were coming from somewhere, So I don't know.
Have you ever witnessed anything, any more groups of people like that out there in robes?
I haven't. I've never seen anybody else since then. Um, they've those gates that I was telling you about, they're not there anymore. The burnt hole in the middle of the cemetery is not there anymore. Um, the cemetery is still there, but
Have you ever or gone to? I don't even know if it would be available to the public, but look into the police records to see if there's ever been any disturbances or reports associated with that property.
yeah, that is something we can definitely look into. I haven't, but I have had plenty of people just tell me different experiences they've had out there. And then when we were investigating out there, and then we caught the apparition of Rhonda was doing a kind of an Estes method on her headphones, and then she kept hearing a woman screaming like bloody murder, just screaming and screaming. She kept telling me that while we were there, and then just reviewing the evidence later on, turned out that I caught the apparition, kind of what we were in the woods.
Wow. Did she, because she's a sensitive, did she outside of what the method that she was doing. Did she sense any uh, entities or anything like that?
Yeah, the energy she said she was picking up on was pretty strong and was negative, but she couldn't tell exactly what it was other than it was female. But like I said, at that time she didn't know I captured that picture. I didn't know, and then she kept hearing it screaming, and like with my ears, and I couldn't hear nothing. I never heard anything.
Cool. Well, I'm gonna do a screen share if I can and get this up here. Now, the first photo that I've got, um, if it's not the one that you're referring to, then let's fast forward and get to the photo that you're referring to. But here's what we got. I'm going to zoom in.
Oh yeah, that's a different place.
Okay. So let me try to get this thing as big as I can. It's not gonna it's not gonna be much bigger, but
Yeah,
is this
that's part of it. Yeah, I think there was three photos like that.
the I think there's only two of oh, is it this one? Is this one of them?
No, that's a different one.
This one?
Right.
That was it.
Let's
And
see.
then we get the videos.
Yeah.
So we got these two.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah, I might be able to point it out there.
okay.
You can kind of see where it's circled.
Yeah. I could zoom in pretty good on that one.
Yeah,
Pretty
there
high
she is.
resolution. So let's see
Yeah.
if it's bigger. It's just not showing up full screen, but I could zoom in.
So, have you ever watched the movie The Ring?
No.
Well, it's kind of like if anybody out there has, then this is kind of what this apparition sort of looks like. It's a woman in a white dress with really long dark hair, and then it's
Oh,
really
from
pretty.
behind,
Yeah,
right?
it's really all you can make out.
I see
And
it.
then
Okay.
I snapped like I don't know how many pictures. What I do is anytime I snap a picture, I take 1 to 2 pictures in the same spot. So you can see something if it was there and if it wasn't in another frame. But yeah, I was able to get this one I think in 3 pictures. But it was really crazy. Like I said, when Rhonda told me about what she was hearing after and afterwards looking at this, I was like, man, that's like exactly where we were standing at. So you got this woman over here just screaming and yelling, and I can't hear anything with my ears like normal.
Yeah, I see that now that you can see kind of the shoulders. Can you see my mouse?
Yeah,
Yeah, you can see the shoulders kind of right here, and then her hairline is right about here,
yep,
and then the top of her head goes about right here, and
yep.
then this right here would be like her dress, right?
That's
Yeah,
pretty crazy.
trippy. So let's see. This is another one. This is another picture of the same entity,
Yep,
right?
right.
That one's a little bit harder to make out. Um, but you guys were obviously pretty close to that thing. This look
Yeah,
is this one of your team members? Hand?
no, yeah. See, what it is like it's me right there, uh, taking the pictures. Rhonda's kind of to my left, uh, but my other two guys were still across the field. They hasn't even come over there yet. So
Wow.
um, that's just us two out there, and then was able to capture that.
So this is at the location called the Gates of Hell. Hell.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah. So how many times have you been out there collecting data?
I've been out there numerous times.
Yeah.
I don't know. I try. I really do try not to go out there alone. But if I do, it's usually in the afternoon.
Ah, I don't blame you, man. I wouldn't go out there at night by myself.
Yeah. I've done some crazy things, but that's just one place I don't want to be.
Is this the same location?
No, this is
This.
actually uh, this is the Haunted Hill House in Mineral Wells, Texas.
Uh huh.
I was taking some pictures out around the house in the woods, and I caught a picture of a little creature, and I can't make out exactly what he is, but you can see him, and you zoom in on him.
So how well can you see that?
Yeah, you see him right there in the middle.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. If I
yeah,
move the screen, it zooms it out, so I can't really move it, but I can.
yeah, it's good right there. You can see him.
Okay, is it like a two
Yep,
eyes and a mouth, kind of a gape,
yep,
and then this would be like his head. It looks like he might have even a beard.
yep. It's crazy, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and that's just out in the woods, and the whole grounds of that area is haunted. And there's an old Indian burial ground out there in the woods right below the mountain. And
So let me ask you this: in regards to this photo as well as the previous two photos, do you guys or do you ever go back and reshoot these locations once you've seen the evidence? Go back and reshoot the location during the daytime and see if there's any type of foliage or
oh, we what we'll do is we go there before. Yeah, we go there before an investigation. So we try to go there during the daytime and the nighttime, so
oh,
we can see those things.
got it. And this was probably with a night vision camera.
That is actually just with flash.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Let's see. Yeah, it almost looks like the head right here, and then I don't know if it's a shoulder. If that's a shoulder, that dude's got pretty broad shoulders.
Yeah, it looks like a shoulder to
Yeah,
me.
yeah,
Um, and I and then when they were telling me all about the activity that goes on and through the woods, I was just out there just snapping pictures like all over the place.
yeah. That's wild. And you didn't see that with your naked eye, so you didn't even notice this until you got home, right?
Just
Or
looking
back.
at the pictures.
Yeah, yeah. That's wild. So already saw these. Oh, okay, what's this one?
Now this one is we've done an investigation at this is a residential house. We've been out there numerous times now because activity just keeps going on. And what it was is these people were just moving in this house. There was nobody in it, and she come around the corner and she was taking pictures of the house. Just taking pictures of the house. She came around the corner and took a picture of this, and it's a shadow figure in the doorway.
Wait, that's not a person.
It's not a person.
Hold on.
Yeah. As soon as she come around the corner, she was just taking pictures, and that came out.
That looks like a person, man. That's insane.
I know.
So
I didn't take this picture. I
right,
just
I was gonna say you really have to weigh heavily on witness testimony at this point. You
yeah.
you
She
you
didn't
basically have
even
to believe that she's telling you the truth.
yeah. She's like just like anytime you move into a new place, you're just taking pictures of it to show off or whatever. And she turned around and she came through the kitchen, took that picture, and it was there. She didn't see it like with her eyes. She saw it in the picture.
Wow. The one thing that makes me kind of dubious of this photo, and I'm not, I'm no expert at all, but I am a photographer, and this image right here uh, is so blurry that you can't make out any kind of detail, and it's not just the figure that's blurry; it's the entire photo.
Yeah.
Uh, that leads me to believe that there was probably somebody standing in that doorway that she didn't see, and she just snapped a picture so fast the person moved out of the door frame before she looked up to see. That would be my like attempt at an explanation.
Yeah.
um
Um,
Outside, because that is such a distinct you know, picture of a human. It looks like you
Mhm.
could even see shoes and shorts.
Yeah, and
You know,
what she told us was that she was the only one in the house.
oh wow. To be honest with you, I would rather that be a shadow person than another person that snuck into the house while I was alone in the
Yeah.
house, right?
Yeah. That's just the thing, you don't never know with anything paranormal what it will be.
That's
Um,
yeah, that's pretty creepy.
yeah. Huh.
I mean, that could be the arm right there, and the other arm, but maybe it looks like a person maybe looking at a cell phone, but then the face is kind of featureless. You can't really see any features in the face. But I don't know that you would if because it looks like the camera settings were not set correctly to shoot indoors. um, Still cool story though.
Yeah. Hmm.
And we looked at that one. What's this one right here?
Let's see. Blood. Oh, that was uh have you ever watched a movie called True Grit?
Yeah.
He's talking about Judge Parker's courthouse in Fort Smith and everything. That's where we were.
Oh, okay.
And we were just outside on the grounds actually, and it was there's nobody out in this area but our team, and they were all with me behind this picture. So we were snapping pictures around the gallows area, and that's what popped up when we were looking at the evidence. You can see like a like a yeah like a misty apparition, like it was trying to form, but it just didn't all the way.
So I'm gonna go back because I just realized that um, Luis was commenting on the photo of this guy,
Oh, okay.
and it does. He made a comment that it looks like there's another person in the photo. You don't see the whole person though. Like this could be the arm of another person, and this could be, I don't know, maybe their clothing or something, or not a person, but another figure.
It totally could be. That's just one thing about shadow people is not, we still don't understand exactly what they are, and they do morph weirdly sometimes. So,
And then the other thing is that Lou mentioned is there's a shadow on the floor here, and it looks like it's being cast from this light source when it hits this figure. You see that shadow?
it could be definitely it could be a shadow, or it could be uh, like mist stuff. I really can't tell. It almost looks like yeah, kind of almost looks like a shadow, but I can't. You can't
Yeah,
really.
yeah. You can't. I mean, it's so. Um, it's a cool photo, but it's one of those photos that has to be classified as an unknown,
Yep. No, I agree
because
with you.
the witness testimony says it's one thing, but unless you, and it looks like it was taken with a cell phone. Is that is that true? Was it a cell phone
Yeah.
photo?
I don't know. I don't know 100% if that was from a phone or not.
Okay. Um, let's see what else. If Lou had any more comments about this, the one before this. Uh, so there's a delay, and Lou's saying there. I guess it's this dude has two faces.
Mhm.
Oh, it does kind of look like there's another face right here. I don't know if that's what he's talking about, but
I can't tell. I've never picked up on it. If there is, there totally could be.
it does look like there's two eyes here, eye and an eye, and then another mouth agape right here.
Okay, no, I actually see it. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean that it all could be pareidolia or whatever that is. Where we see a face
Yeah,
in in a in the clouds, or we see an object that is not really something. Um, but I will not dismiss it as nothing. That's for sure. That's certainly something that is intriguing. Um, Zoom in more. Okay.
Hmm.
Give them a chance to catch up because there's a little bit of delay. Yeah, looking at it on the screen versus my screen, when it's a little bit smaller, it
Hmm.
looks there's definitely more detail. When I'm as zoomed in as I'm on this on my screen, it just turns into a big mush. I can't really see any detail, but um, pretty cool. Look at that face. Yeah, it is very cool. We got a couple videos too. We're going to jump on those and see what they are. Okay, so can you explain this to me? Because I've seen this type of video on like ghost hunters and other paranormal
Right.
shows. What
It
exactly is
actually,
this?
yeah, we were. I was looking right there through the our SLS camera, which it measures like the anomalies, makes them look like stick figures.
Right.
If something's there, if nothing's there, it won't map it. But we were doing an open investigation at the Clayton House in Fort Smith, Arkansas. It's a big historical place that was built like back in the 1800s. And what the open investigations are is that we bring people in to kind of that are interested in paranormal investigations and kind of what we do and our equipment and all that stuff to follow us around on investigations. So sometimes it's a little noisy and things because we got people running around all over with our team and uh, it's a serious investigation, but it's not really like one of our things that we wouldn't bring people into. So what it is right here on the table too. You can see our REM pod setting up, and you can see the stick figure next to it in that chair. Now, what's really cool about this is you're getting evidence from the SLS camera showing you there's something there. At the same time, getting evidence from the REM pod that something's touching it because it's going off. So it's pretty cool because the spirit just touches the REM pod and keeps his hand on it, and then kind of the people were around us really freaking out a little bit.
Uh, there is some audio. Should I share the audio?
Yeah, there's nothing bad about it or anything.
Okay. So let me stop this because it's already looped once. So let me stop this. I'll stop sharing the screen for a sec. Then I'll hit screen share again. And this time I'll share the audio. Okay. I think I might have froze up my computer. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, it looks like. Oh no, my browser froze up.
No, no.
Uh, Shoot. Okay, I
Hmm.
can't. I can't do anything now. My browser's froze up. Can you still see me? Okay, is my video still
Yeah,
working?
yeah,
All
you're
right.
good.
Okay, so let's skip that. The video looped one time. Can you just explain what was going on in that video? And then the last video, I'm not going to be able to share that one because my browser's frozen.
Yeah, it was just like I said, it was you're getting two forms of evidence happening at the same time. So you can just it's easy to verify that you are communicating with a spirit. They are intelligently responding to you. and you're getting it on your REM pod, which only goes off when the field around is disturbed, so it has to be touched. And then you're getting your SLS footage of the spirit touching the REM pod, so you're getting two forms of evidence, and it was really cool. It's one of the coolest videos I've gotten because of the proof. Um, so that's what makes it really cool to me. And then the last one, the video was the same place, same room. We hadn't started the investigation yet, so I went and set the REM pod down on that table where you saw it, and then it was going off almost immediately. And then it kind of set the tone for like the way the night's going to go because of we were already getting evidence. We didn't even started, and then so I was just kind of standing back at the entrance of that room, asking it if it will, if it's there, will it touch it? And then if you're there, also, don't touch it, whatever. It was an intelligent response to what I was asking it to do. So that's really kind of all that last video was to show that there was interaction with something.
Right on. Um, you know, if I do anything, it's going to shut me out of the app, and I'm going to have to come back in. So we will just leave it at that and move on and finish our conversation and close it out. Does that sound okay with you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Sorry about that. I mean, unless you want to like hold tight, I'll jump out and come back in and see if the stream is still going.
You can try that if you want.
Okay. Because my whole browser is locked up.
No,
I'm
wow.
afraid if I leave the stream that it's going to end it.
Yeah, it could though. You're right.
Okay, so let's just move on. I apologize um, to you, Jason, for the screw up, and for the viewers. I'm sorry I won't be able to show that. But that video, if you post it on your Facebook page, at the end of this, I'll let people know where they could go to your Facebook page and see that video.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So yeah, we mentioned that we would talk a little bit more about UFOs, and earlier Rodrigo had asked. I can't see the chat anymore, but he had asked about a movie, Witness of Another World. I believe is what it was called. Have you seen that movie?
I have not. I don't
It's a
think I've
great
even
movie.
heard.
It's a great movie. It's about this. I think he's like a farmer somewhere in Central or South America, and this guy's had contact with UFOs, and he shared a story, um, but I don't remember the entire story about it. And shoot, I would love to hear some input from Rodrigo or from Luis or anybody else who's in the chat room, but I can't read the chat because my
Mhm.
browser's froze up. Sorry about that, guys. So you have not seen that. Have you seen any other, or are you familiar with any other cases that?
Well, you watch. You're talking about movies. Obviously, there's a couple that come to mind. You think about, Travis Walton in Fire in
Yeah,
the Sky. Um, that's a great story. If anybody's ever not watched that, you check it out. But you think of was the what's the one that Spielberg made?
Close
Close
Encounters.
Encounters. Yeah, you got that. There's one that was a little bit newer. It's called The Fourth Kind. If you haven't seen that, it's a little crazy.
Yeah, I have seen that one. Um,
Yeah, it kind of makes it seem like the movie is about like real alien abductions, and it kind of plays on this town in Alaska. But
yeah,
it's interesting. Like we were saying earlier, I think that I think they've always been here. It's just more people are tuned on with the technology we have.
there's definitely something to the abduction phenomena. Um, I've talked to several people that have experienced it myself, and though I've never experienced it, I've never seen a UFO. I may have seen a ghost on two different occasions when I was a kid, when I was a little kid, but it was two different types of situations. And I've shared it on the podcast a few times, so I don't want to bore people by retelling my experience. Um,
You know,
but these people that have experienced abductions, man, that is like the worst possible thing that could happen to you is to be abducted. I would think. I mean, you could be killed, and you wouldn't know what happened to you unless you know in when you're a spirit. If you know what
yeah,
happened to you when you're a spirit, then you know how you were killed. But if you're
but
abducted, you're basically all of your freedom is taken away, and then you're put back into your life. And what are you supposed to do with that, right?
yeah, I think some situations are probably like that, but I want to think that there's probably other situations where you've been abducted, but you never know. Like it could been happen to your entire life, but for some reason it's something they do to you that you don't have no memory of, so you wouldn't know. You'd be like, oh, there's some kind of weird marks on my arm, but I don't know what that's from. You I'm sure there's probably cases like that too, um, where you'll never know that they just do it to you your entire life. Um, and it kind of goes back to the government stuff too. I think that there's probably some kind of deal with certain alien races that they can take certain amount of people. Or I mean, there has to be. Um, there has to be something like that because otherwise, I think there already been a war. There'd already been an alien war. Between us and them. Like but at the same time, if that was the case, then we'd lose. I mean,
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't think it would be much of a war. I think it'd
but I
be
think
like
that's what it was.
a
Yeah, the
human
aliens.
stepping on an ant.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I think they come down and they say, "Hey, this is the deal. We're going to take this many people, a year or however they, measure time, but we're going to take this many people, and there's really nothing you can do about it. But we're going to, maybe give you a little technology here and there or something. But like, that way there's no conflicts or there's no, people don't know what's happening. But I mean, to me, that makes sense to think about it that way. That you know how is this happening and how's the government allowing it to happen? Well, I don't think it's necessarily they're allowing it to happen because they can't do anything about it. But, you know,
Yeah, I don't know. That is a strange. If that's what's really happening, I mean that puts it in a realm that's much much harder to for the general public to accept.
right.
Right? I mean, our government has a an agreement with aliens, and they don't even admit that aliens are real.
Yeah.
I mean, if that comes out, I think that's going to be some pretty disturbing revelations if it comes to that, if that ever really comes out.
Yeah. And I'm sure there are alien races out there that are, friendly that want to just communicate with us or or trade or whatever it may be. But um, there's going to be the guys out there that are bullies, and they're going to do what they want and take what they want. And ain't nothing we can do about it.
Right?
So I figure it would be something like that. Is there stuff to the Roswell stuff and then Area 51? I'm sure there are, but um, why is those? If they're so technology advanced, why are they crashing? There's a reason. You know, are they fighting other aliens up there and one of them shot them down or something? I don't know, but
Actually, I read something the other day. There's a couple theories why the alien or the UFOs have crashed. Um, and a couple of the crashes occurred during a period where we were using radar that was pretty primitive. And so the theory is that that primitive type of radar interfered with the UFO craft, caused them to lose control and crash. And then the other theory is that atomic weapons that we were testing above ground had caused some kind of malfunction or loss of control in the craft, causing them to crash. So those are a couple of the theories that I've heard, and it's not that they're so far advanced that they're um, uh, immortal or whatever. And I mean, not the it's a machine, so it's not immortal. That's not the right word, but they're not so far advanced that they're not impervious to some type of um, not a an aggressive attack, but something interfering with their technology, causing them to crash. Um, but I mean, who really knows? If the government does know, they're certainly not telling us about that kind of stuff. Um,
Yeah,
and if that stuff ever comes out, I mean, it would be a pretty wild day to, you know, for that kind of stuff to come out.
but it's not. How deep is it? It's deep enough that they won't even tell the president of the United States what's going on because there's a different president. It could be every 4 years, so that changes all the time. But the deep secrets and all that stuff is buried way down in there. That the people that actually run things, they know what's going on. But yeah, it makes sense. Like you talk about President Clinton when he tried to get the information in the UFOs and really tried to deep dive into it. They're like, we're not going to tell you. Basically, is what they're saying, and it really kind of makes sense to why they wouldn't tell somebody it's only going to be there a short time. I can see that.
Yeah, Clinton and Obama more or less said that there was nothing to it. Um, and I mean every president since I guess Eisenhower has more or less denied it. But there are a couple presidents. Now I'm not that well versed in all the presidential stuff, um, but there have been a couple of presidents that have witnessed UFOs,
Yep.
and I think Gerald Ford was one of them, and Jimmy Carter was another one. I think Reagan might have had he might have witnessed something, but I don't know off the top of my head. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy, man. The whole thing. But
Well, this is you know what? Again, I'm going to jump back to what Luis Jimenez is doing with on his YouTube channel um, with the big phone home. He's trying to encourage everybody to and there's a date, April 24th, um, and we want to get as many people to call into Congress on that day. And there's a script available, so if you don't know what to say, all you got to do is fill in the blanks and read off the script. Uh, but you know, put the message in the in the members in the hands of the members of Congress that we the people want more transparency from the government, and the more people that get involved, the more impact it's going to have. And I'm gonna do it. There's a whole bunch of podcasters, YouTubers, UFO researchers, and investigators that are going to be involved and calling them up. And everybody that I know is talking to everybody that they know. Um, so we're all trying to encourage everybody else to just participate and learn, what you can about this movement and get involved if you can.
yeah, for sure. That sounds like a good plan.
Right on. So you're probably going to be getting a phone call from Luis here, since I know he's been on the in the chat window, or he's been in the chat room all night. So he's probably going to reach out to you and see if you want to come on and on board and help out. Lend your voice to the cause.
Sure. Yeah, I stand behind anything like that. Like I said earlier, it's about partnerships and relationships. Pair unity, pair family, whatever you want to call it there. But yeah, you really need to support each other in this in all these fields, whether it just be UFOs or whatever. But it's to me, it's all under the same umbrella. So
Yeah.
I definitely I'll definitely push it too. it sounds like something also that needs to happen.
So we didn't really touch on cryptids too much. You did mention, that there's a lot of Bigfoot activity out there in the areas that you live in. Um, but it's a good idea to leave some of this stuff for a future episode. Would you be willing to come back on at a future date and talk more about this stuff?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's quite a bit to talk about in that subject.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you have any evidence, any photos or um, evidence to support the sightings, even witness testimony, man, I'm open to witness testimony because people have been convicted on witness testimony. So
Yeah.
that, in my mind, it holds weight. Um, but any final thoughts before we close it out? I'm gonna give you an opportunity to give your contact information at the very end. But before we get to that, any final thoughts?
Yeah, like I was just saying, if you guys out there really embrace the family as a whole, as don't dismiss somebody's evidence or the way they investigate or anything like that, because we're all part of it and it affects everybody. So you really want to push positive vibes and help each other out. And no matter how big you are, how far you go, and how far you grow, um, you know, help those guys up that's starting out, and really kind of pull them up there too. Because the more people you have in it, the stronger it is together. So um, that's my message, is really kind of just be a pair family and help each other.
Great message, man. I appreciate you saying that, and I appreciate you being here tonight. So, how can people reach out to you and get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can look up our Facebook group page. Just search Not Terror Collective. That's where we post all of our live investigations when we do them, and all the other fun stuff we have going on, our contest or anything like that we're doing. Um, and our Facebook business page, if you guys want to like and follow that. And Instagram and Twitter, if you have either one of those, it'd be great to follow us on those two. But yeah, just check out our stuff. Comment, participate in the group, and all that stuff, man. And we'll give you a shout.
Do you have a website?
We actually don't. Our social media really takes up all of our time and effort, and it's cool to have a website probably, but I feel like we've grown so much, and we've reached out so far on just social media. It seems like almost that's really kind of all we need. We might start throwing evidence and stuff out on our YouTube channel that we haven't really developed yet, but other than that, that's probably what we're going to stick with.
Good deal. Um, well, with that, I am experiencing some technical difficulties. So there's usually I do an uh, after show chat with the guest, but I don't think we're going to be able to do that because we're still live. Um, so I will be in contact with you via Facebook. We'll keep in touch through social media, and I'll get you back on at some point in the future.
Sure, man. That sounds awesome.
All right, Jason. Thanks again for being here, man, and have a good night.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, appreciate it, brother. Be safe.
Yeah.